Today, before I break down the passive income pyramid to infinite wealth, I want to share with you my earliest introduction into passive income, and it has to do with this game called Balloons. And no, they are not a sponsor, but I think there's some wonderful simplicities in this before we get into the complicated side of building passive income sources. And the idea behind this game is you start with a little bit of cash that you can use to buy artillery monkeys of different strengths that throw darts. And the goal is to destroy these balloons as they come through the path before they get to the end of it. If too many get through the path, you lose the game. And the idea here is you're going to notice that in this example, the guy is building these little farms that are producing bananas. So as you destroy the balloons, you build more cash, but not a lot of it. It's just progressive over time. It's like cash you're working for. But instead of spending that cash on obviously the monkeys that are going to destroy the balloons, you could spend it on the monkey farms that produce passive income through bananas. And those bananas compound on top of your cash flow as you destroy these balloons. And you have to find this balance between having just enough artillery monkeys to destroy the balloons, but just enough monkey farms to make sure you have enough cash to buy better monkeys as the balloons build up in strength. And I know this is a really different way of explaining passive income, but for some reason, where I sit today generating thousands of dollars in passive income, I always find myself relating back to this early childhood game that I used to play. And I feel like it really relates to what we're gonna get into. So ladies and gentlemen, let's hop right into this.
Drop it.
Welcome back. Passive income investors, I like to probably one of the most important videos I am ever going to make, taking you down the path of how infinite wealth and passive income generating actually works. And if you do not grasp what we're about to go over, you do not have a shot at what they call the American dream. And to kick this off, we got to go all the way to the bottom of the pyramid to where most of us generally begin, and that is just surviving. Most of us do not come from wealthy parents. That means you got to get an education, you got to get a job. So you're going to either start out by bartending, Ubering. It doesn't really matter until you find a place of consistency and stability. And that point, you can actually focus on your finances, taking you up to the next step in the pyramid, which is what we call de-debting. Any financial advisor out there, guys, will tell you the best investment you can make is just paying off your debts.
The only true lasting American value that's left, buying things. People spending money they don't have on things they don't need. Spend the rest of their lives paying 18% interest on something that costs $12.50.
In fact, this takes me back to about 5 years ago when I was $20,000 in debt. I just finished paying it off, and it was like the worst mistake and the best mistake I pretty much ever made, because essentially it got me into a habit of putting money away and just saving it to get rid of those debts. And once it was paid off, well, now I had all this extra income and I wasn't too focused on materialistic objects, which kind of takes us up to that next level of the pyramid, which is what I'm going to call the learning curve. This is where if you're finally ready to start your financial independence, that retire early journey, you can start learning about the value of obviously things like emergency funds, tax advantaged accounts. This is where you're really going to start figuring out like your income versus expenses, your savings rate. As at this point, I think I paid my debt off by the time I was 23, and then I started trying to figure out what I was going to do with all this wealth. I started listening to people like Warren Buffett, of course. You got Mark Cuban. There's so many different investors out there. I mean, you got the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, learning about equity versus assets, and that kind of starts evolving you into the most important step of all of this, which is starting to invest. And this is where you're either going to make great investments or terrible investments, but if you do neither, you don't have a shot at, again, the American dream. And this is where you're going to start learning a lot of different kind of investments. You're going to be learning about real estate. You're going to be learning about stock market investing like dividends, which is what we focus a lot on. You'll probably start learning about other passive income businesses, or maybe even starting your own business. And then once you finally start investing, you're going to start figuring out your own investment style, which is going to lead you into what I call optimizing your strategy. It's really incredible to me with all the investors out there that I talk to, people that are worth tens of millions to people that are just starting their accounts. Nobody does it exactly the same. There are going to be a lot of variables coming into play with your risk tolerance and your education base, because you might be more comfortable with real estate than you are with stocks. You might be more comfortable with running your own business than you are with any of those other things. But so long as you kind of grasp these methods, you can approach either. Which finally only leads you to the very top of the pyramid where you can start experiencing the passive income lifestyle where your dividends, your cash flow, your business that you've hired managers to run is bringing in you enough money to finally cover your expenses so you can work when you want, you can work from where you want. I mean, that is at the end of the day what we're all trying to achieve, but it seems almost impossible to people that have never looked at a chart like this. The very top of this list is where most people really get confused about how you truly become rich. Like I'm talking like Jeff Bezos rich, like Elon Musk rich. And there's a lot of work involved if you want to become a billionaire, of course, but I'll give you my own simple example as I have made less than $40,000 a year through most of my life, living frugally to get to the point of having a six-figure portfolio of not only stocks, but other businesses and websites and things that generate cash flow passively. But let's use the dividend side of it as an example, because most of you are dividend investors. It's one of the easiest ways to start getting on your passive income journey. But most people only focus on dividends for that 3 to 5% yield that they're going to make. And they kind of keep setting aside the reality of how wealthy they can get with equity. And in my own stock market example here, I'm going to break down this equity up here and what I mean by this along with these cash flows in a second, but let's just keep on the stock market thing to keep it simple, right? Now, keeping to my own example, my portfolio, my stock portfolio is worth about $150,000, generating about a 4% dividend yield, roughly $6,500 annually, or maybe about $540 a month. And that's pretty cool and pretty awesome, but that 4% yield is nothing. I mean, I can't live on $6,000 a year, but where things get really impressive is my average rate of return, including dividends, is around 15%. That means about 4 to 5% of that is just dividends and 10% is equity growth. I shouldn't put that in quotations. I am generating more wealth from the growth of my portfolio and the equity than I am from the dividends, because on $150,000, if I can grow that by 10% a year, that is $15,000. And the coolest part about it is you don't pay tax on that because it's not actualized income. And that is where people get really confused about building equity in businesses. The equity is what is going to make you rich, not the cash flow. And to give you an example, what you're looking at here is the equity value that I am likely to generate this year between all of my businesses and my stock portfolio. And I've given you guys examples with the websites, because if you can build a very sturdy online business that generates $1,000 a month, you could literally sell it. I could show you how to sell it for $30,000 to $40,000. This is some pretty incredible stuff here, guys. And off all of those income sources, starting from today, if things continue to be consistent between the websites, the dividends, and everything else I'm doing with social media, I'm going to be making roughly $20,000 from this moment to this time next year. And if we add all of those up, guys, even though I've completely lost my job during this pandemic, my job got wiped out. I cannot survive off $20,000 a year in passive income. But my goodness, if you include that with the equity, and I do everything I can to avoid touching that equity, I'm going to be making $65,000 over the next year, starting all of this stuff in a pan-bloody-demic. We are heading into a recession, and I am making more wealth than I ever have. And I look like I'm broke. The government thinks I'm broke. My cash flows suck. And keep in mind, this is before taxes. This is before paying off the expenses and everything like that. But I'm trying to give you guys a clear example of what is actually possible. I believe in this so much. Myself and another YouTuber by the name of Matt Money, we combined have over $500,000 in equity and business experience, and we are putting it all together in a website that you may have heard us talk about called the Passive Income Educator. I don't think I have ever offered so much value in one website. We made a little subscription service, or you can just buy our individual courses teaching you about everything we do to generate this kind of cash flow and equity growth, whether you're stock market investing or building businesses. My goal was to deliver this knowledge base without you having to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars by signing up to stock market traders and Tai Lopez type courses. And I will be adding to this month over month. So you guys infinitely get value for what? $2 a month. And this supports us. And keep in mind, I do not break even on this until like 30 or 50 of you guys sign up. We are giving away that much value because I believe in it this much. It's all about value and community, which I think I'm offering 100 times more than I'm asking in return. So if you guys want to support us, keep us going and get us to a place of sustainability so we can keep making this content for you, I would highly appreciate you checking out the website. And you can always join me here for free or join us on our live stream channel where we do late night Friday, #RichGang. So in light of all of this, I would love to know how you're generating passive income in that comment section below. Consider slapping a like for all the work I do, but stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to chatting to you tomorrow.